Thousands of years ago, in an age when heaven seemed to touch the earth and the laws of nature appeared to bend, there lived a ruler unlike any other in human history. He was not simply a king wearing a crown, and his power was not measured by armies of men. Imagine a monarch obeyed by the raging winds. A king whose commands were carried out by the lords of the Jinn, while unseen beings descended into the depths of the oceans in his service. This is not Greek mythology. It is not fantasy. This is one of the most extraordinary and awe-inspiring chapters in the history of mankind. This is the age of Solomon. The era when a prophet of God ruled the earth, commanded the hidden world, and faced trials powerful enough to shake his throne itself. Welcome to the complete story of the Prophet King Solomon, peace be upon him. In this documentary, we journey through ancient history and the verses of the Holy Qur'an to uncover the secrets of his legendary kingdom. How did he command the winds? How did he rule over the mighty Jinn? What was the truth behind the great trial that tested him? And how did one of the greatest queens of the ancient world, the Queen of Sheba, ultimately submit to his message? Prepare yourselves for a journey through time. The story begins in a house filled with prophecy, justice, and devotion to God. Solomon was born to the prophet David, a king whose praises were echoed by the mountains and the birds themselves. From an early age, it became clear that Solomon was no ordinary child. He possessed extraordinary intelligence, remarkable insight, and a wisdom far beyond his years. One incident in particular revealed the brilliance of the young prince long before he ascended the throne. Two men came before King David seeking judgment. One owned a field, the other a flock of sheep. During the night, the sheep had wandered into the field and destroyed the crops completely. David judged that the owner of the damaged field should receive the sheep as compensation, for the value of the sheep was equal to the loss that had been suffered. But then the young Solomon spoke. "My father, there is a better judgment, one that is fairer to both men." David asked him what he proposed. Solomon answered with wisdom that astonished everyone present. The owner of the field should take the sheep and benefit from their wool, milk, and offspring. Meanwhile, the owner of the sheep should restore the field by cultivating it until it returns to its former condition. Once the field has been fully restored, each man receives back what originally belonged to him. It was a judgment of remarkable fairness. Neither man would be ruined. Neither would lose his property. According to the Qur'an, God himself approved of Solomon's wisdom. And we gave Solomon understanding of the matter, and to each of them we granted wisdom and knowledge. It was a sign, a declaration that Solomon was destined to inherit far more than a throne. He would inherit prophecy, wisdom, and a kingdom unlike any the world had ever seen. When David passed away, Solomon ascended the throne of Israel. And from that moment, history would never be the same. But Solomon did not seek an ordinary kingdom. He desired something that had never existed before and would never exist again. He raised his hands toward the heavens and made a prayer that would change the course of history. "My Lord, forgive me and grant me a kingdom such as shall not belong to anyone after me. Truly, you are the bestower." And because it was the Lord of all gifts who heard that prayer, the answer came swiftly. The first force to submit to Solomon was one that no human eye could see, yet every person could feel. The wind itself. God subjected the gentle breeze and the violent storm to Solomon's command. It carried him and his armies across immense distances that would have taken ordinary travelers months to cross. In a single day, Solomon could cover journeys that once required an entire month. Deserts, mountains, and sea seemed to fold beneath him. But control over the wind was only the beginning. The greatest miracle of all was yet to come. The gates to another world were opened. The hidden world. The world of the Jinn. God subjected entire tribes of Jinn to Solomon's authority. Their kings and their mighty warriors stood humbled before him. Some became builders, constructing palaces and fortresses that no human hands could create. Others became divers, plunging into the dark depths of the seas to retrieve pearls, treasures, and riches hidden beneath the oceans. Yet the Jinn were not naturally obedient creatures. Among them were rebels and the arrogant. For them, God prepared chains and punishment. Any spirit that defied Solomon's command faced severe consequences. The Jinn lived in awe of this prophet king. Day and night they labored under his command, fearing his authority and the power granted to him by God. Then another extraordinary gift was bestowed upon him. A flowing spring of molten copper emerged from the earth itself. With it, men and Jinn forged tools, weapons, armor, and magnificent works of craftsmanship. Solomon now possessed the greatest military, economic, and supernatural power of his age. Under his rule, the kingdom became a marvel of architecture. The Qur'an describes the wonders built by the Jinn. They made for him whatever he wished of lofty halls, statues, great basins like reservoirs, and enormous cooking cauldrons. Massive fortresses rose from the earth. Palaces and sanctuaries were carved into mountains. Gigantic basins and great cauldrons were built to feed armies and receive countless guests. At the height of his glory, Solomon inspected his armies. Not only the armies of men and Jinn, but also the armies of birds, which served as scouts and messengers across distant lands. One day, while reviewing their ranks, he noticed the absence of a small bird. The hoopoe. Solomon declared, "Why do I not see the hoopoe? Has he been absent? I will surely punish him severely unless he brings me a clear explanation." A short time later, the little bird returned carrying news that would change the course of history. "I have discovered something you do not know," said the hoopoe. "I have come to you from Sheba with certain news. I found a woman ruling over them, possessing great wealth and an enormous throne. But I found her and her people worshipping the sun instead of God." Solomon was deeply troubled. A kingdom founded upon the worship of the Creator could not ignore such idolatry. But he did not rush to judgment. Instead, he sent a letter. A brief but powerful message. The hoopoe carried it across deserts and mountains until it reached the palace of the Queen of Sheba. The queen gathered her advisors and read the letter aloud. "In the name of God, the most merciful, the most compassionate. Do not exalt yourselves above me, but come to me in submission." Her generals boasted of their strength and readiness for war. But the queen was wise. She understood that war often destroys kingdoms. So she decided to test Solomon. Was he merely another king seeking wealth and conquest? Or was he truly a prophet carrying a divine message? She sent him magnificent gifts of gold and precious treasures. When the gifts arrived, Solomon rejected them immediately. "Do you offer me wealth? What God has given me is far better than what he has given you." The queen now understood. She was not dealing with an ordinary ruler. She was facing a prophet supported by miracles. And so she set out for Jerusalem herself. As her caravan approached, Solomon decided to demonstrate the extraordinary power that God had granted him. He turned to his court and asked, Which of you can bring me her throne before she arrives in submission? A mighty Jinn stood and said, I can bring it to you before you rise from your place. But Solomon sought something even greater. Then a man blessed with knowledge from God stepped forward and said, I can bring it to you before your glance returns to you. And in the blink of an eye, the throne of the Queen of Sheba stood before Solomon. He did not boast. He did not claim greatness for himself. Instead, he said, This is by the grace of my Lord, to test whether I will be grateful or ungrateful. When the queen finally arrived, she was asked, Is this your throne? She stared in astonishment. It appears to be the same. Then came the final wonder. She was invited into Solomon's palace. The floor was made entirely of transparent glass, beneath which clear water flowed and fish swam. Believing she was about to step into water, she lifted her garments. Solomon gently said, It is only a palace paved with glass. In that moment, all pride disappeared from her heart. She realized that her power was nothing compared to the power of God. And she declared, My Lord, I have wronged myself, and I submit with Solomon to God, the Lord of all worlds. Yet even this magnificent king was not spared from trials. God tested Solomon with a severe affliction, reminding him that no kingdom, however great, belongs to man alone. Years passed. Then came the final chapter. One day, Solomon stood in prayer, leaning upon his staff while the jinn continued their work. In that very position, the angel of death took his soul. But his body remained standing. Days passed. Perhaps even months. The jinn believed their king was still watching them, and so they continued to labor in fear. Then God sent a tiny creature from the earth, a woodworm, to eat away at Solomon's staff. When the staff finally broke, the body of Solomon fell to the ground. Only then did the jinn realize that their king had died long before. And it became clear that they did not know the unseen. Thus ended the life of the king who possessed a kingdom unlike any other. A man who commanded the winds, ruled over the jinn, and witnessed miracles beyond imagination. A king whose story remains a timeless reminder that power, knowledge, and glory all begin by the command of God, and end by His will alone.